JJ Colborn here, and this is a Pelargonium gravelens. It is a Lady Plymouth varietal, to be exact, with these lovely cream-colored outlines on the leaves. And Pelargonium gravelens is the Latin name for the rose-scented geranium that is used in perfumery. And in this video, I am going to be discussing geranium in perfume and also chat about 10 geranium-focused fragrances in my collection. So stay tuned. Now, the taxonomy of geraniums can get rather confusing because there's actually two genera from which all plants that we refer to as geraniums derive. The first one is that of the genus Geranium. This includes the cranesbills, or what is often referred to as true geraniums. Cranesbills actually do have aromatic leaves. Most of them do not produce an essential oil that could be of any use to the perfumer, save for one particular species that is known as Geranium macrorhizum, or Zdravits. Zdravits essential oil has shown recent use in perfumery, although it isn't widespread, and mostly artisan and niche perfumers have experimented with it in recent years. It does have a lovely scent of its own, but it is different from that of the Pelargonium gravelens. It is more similar to the scent that you would experience from cranesbill geraniums, especially as the sun beats down on those leaves. It is lovely stuff, and I hope to see more use of it in perfumery in the future. Moving on to the second genus of the Pelargonium. Pelargonium is so broad in the amount of plants that come from this genus, including the one that we might be most familiar with, the zonal geranium, the Pelargonium zonale, which is the most familiar one, the one that we often see on porches and stoops and in gardens. This one may have vaguely green aromatic leaves, but it is not necessarily a fragrant plant, and it doesn't yield an essential oil. What does, however, yield a significant amount of essential oil is that Pelargonium gravelens, which we see here. And the leaves are more distinct. The flowers, as you can see here, they're not the most showy. They're pretty little blooms. So these plants are not really best known for their flowers. They are more known for the essential oil that it produces. And this essential oil is really fragrant. It is rosy because of a high geraniol content. And geraniol is also found in the scent of rose. There are sharp qualities, herbaceous facets, green facets, even some minty facets. It is cheaper to obtain, so in many instances where rose generally is more expensive to obtain, geranium has been used to extend rose or even cut rose oils in more dishonest practices. But geranium is often used as an extender to help flesh out rose in perfumes. There are many rose fragrances that may also have an accompanying geranium note. However, geranium in larger usage typically has what is considered to be a scent that may be considered more unisex or even masculine in nature, because it isn't quite as sweet and floral as the rose, which is why we see it often appearing in these fougères and aromatics that are marketed to the male gender. Now, geraniums, at least in perfumery, the rose-scented geranium, it is native to the Cape Provinces and the northern provinces of South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. Now, you may often hear that geranium bourbon is used. This is a geranium that is not scented like the bourbon that you imbibe, as some somewhat dim-witted YouTubers may claim. It is actually from the island you see here, Réunion, which also has the colloquial name of Bourbon. This is where vetiver bourbon is also grown. This is where vanilla bourbon is also grown, and geranium bourbon. Pelargonium comes from the Greek words meaning stork, and the reason for that is the shape of their fruit looks like the bills of a stork. And the specific epithet gravelonens in the species refers to those strong smelling leaves. So as we've learned, the scent actually comes from the leaves rather than the flower. And these leaves are rich in essential oil. So if you were to crush one of these leaves like I am, the essential oil is expressed into my hands, onto my fingers, and I pick up that characteristic scent of the rose-scented geranium. This is the oil that is distilled and used in perfumery. So I'm going to chat about 10 fragrances that I own that prominently feature geranium. One of the earliest ones that I have here is from Penhaligon's, and this is English Fern. This is a classic fougere. And many of us are aware that fougères often feature geranium along with lavender, coumarin/tonka bean, and other types of aromatics. And you can really pick up the geranium in English Fern in the heart of the fragrance as it interacts, as the lavender starts to dry down, and you really pick up more strongly the base. And that geranium sort of serves as a bridge. It bridges that lavender and those aromatics that open, maybe the bergamot or other aromatics. And it sends it into the base, which is going to be more coumarinic and mossy. So this is a perfect example of where geranium oil has been classically used. Another one would be Fougère Royale, whether it be the vintage version from Houbigant or the reimagining of it by Rodrigo Flores-Ruf or Houbigant. Geranium is prominent in that as well. Next, what I have here is a classic from Czech Speake. This is number 88. This is the cologne version. I have the parfum version as well. And this is a very fleshy and meaty interpretation of geranium. A lot of geranium oil here in the heart. This is a very dark and gothic and brooding example of geranium use. And it would behoove anyone to at least sample this, even if just for reference, to pick up just how forward a geranium note can be in a fragrance. So that is number 88 from Czech Speake. Next in line, I have an obscurity from the early 80s as well. This is from Jean Couturier. This is Douce, or 12. And this was discontinued a very long time ago. And this has an aromatic fougere structure that it was very much representative of the zeitgeist of the early 80s. However, I find that this one has a really forward geranium note in it. The rosiness, the herbaceousness, the lemoniness, the mintiness, the green leafy qualities of it are really in full display in this particular one. So this one, even though it's been discontinued, it is not extremely rare, at least as far as I last checked, and I don't think that it's going to require you to break the bank to seek it out. But I find this to be quite lovely, as are many of the more obscure releases from Jean Couturier. So that is Douce, aka 12. Onward, we have another one that was unfortunately, I think it was discontinued. It might still be in production in the newer version. And this is Jardin du Nil. This is from Maitre, Parfumeur, Gantier. This is a very unusual geranium. It's very raw, very earthy, and there's a certain muskiness to this as well, which may prove to be an acquired taste. But I do have a write-up on this on Fragrantica/Base Notes that really delves in deeper as to the qualities of this particular fragrance. It could be a bit polarizing because there is a certain fusty mustiness and almost dirty laundryish kind of energy to it in somewhere in the middle of the development. But it is just really a fascinating kind of old world style fragrance. That's Jardin de Nuit from Maitre Parfumeur Gantier. And then what I would like to highlight here is what has become a classic from Frederic Malle. This is Geranium pour Monsieur. Pour Monsieur. This is a Dominique Ropillon from Frederic Malle. And a lot of people associate this not only for the geranium, but for the prominent usage of mint in it as well. And I think that this is a brilliant approach to focusing on geranium because there is an adjacency with the aromatic herbs such as mint and basil and that of geranium. So they bring out the best qualities in each other, the mint and the geranium. Some people have expressed that this may be a little bit too mint forward for them, but I actually do find that this is equal measures of geranium and mint. And from my knowledge, Dominique Ropillon actually wanted to base this on a geranium mint mouthwash that was popular at one time. Onward, we have Geranium Odorata from Diptyque, and this is a prime example of how geranium can transition seamlessly into woodier notes such as vetiver and cedar. And this is one of my favorite interpretations or approaches to geranium because of that fact, because this transition it's so gradual that you don't really notice it until it's already happened. And it's almost like the geranium is extended into the base through the usage of vetiver and cedar. So it does speak to this really great energy between these notes. Particularly geranium and vetiver, I find, have an excellent relationship with each other when they're paired together in fragrance. So this is Geranium Odorata from Diptyque. Now, just a few years back, Jean-Claude had reformulated Equipage from the 70s, but then there was also a flanker called Equipage Geranium, and this is magnificent because for a fragrance like Equipage, which already had some geranium sort of in the periphery, this really brings that geranium forward. And I dare say it almost is an improvement to the original as much as I adore Equipage, but this is just sublime. The geranium in this reminds me of more so the raw leaves, just like the ones that I had crushed earlier. And it brings out that the leafiness and the herbaceousness of the geranium with all the other notes in Equipage, such as the carnation, etc. So rumor has it that this has been discontinued. I hadn't fact checked before this video. Somebody wants to leave a note in the comments. But if it hasn't, I do highly recommend it. And even if it has, try to pick it up because we know what happens after things discontinued. So that is Hermès Equipage Geranium. Now, one might find it unusual that for a geranium fragrances video, I would choose this one because of its name, Patchouli Intense. But Patricia Nicolai, in this composition, used as much of a geranium accord in it as a patchouli, to the point where I feel like this is more so geranium patchouli intense. The geranium's almost more present than the patchouli until the very dry down. So this is a really tenacious, unique fragrance from Nicolai, extremely aromatic. It's got sillage for days. The geranium here is the darker, rosier kind, and the interplay between it and the patchouli is really something. So I would be remiss without mentioning Patchouli Intense in a geranium fragrances video. I think it should be called Geranium Patchouli Intense. And the next one from Frederic Malle, this is another Jean-Claude Elena. This is Rose and Cuir. Now this is another one where the name might be debatable depending upon whom you speak with, because this is much more geranium and vetiver to many noses than it is rose et cuir, or rose and leather. Once again, that relationship that develops between geranium and vetiver, that interplay, that synergy that takes place, makes for something really robust, and that is in spades here in Rose et Cuir. I have not yet done a review on this as of the recording of this video. You may be watching this in the future where I already have had a review done, but I will be sure to express in much more detail my thoughts on this. But I found this to be an excellent recent release from Frederic Malle and Jean-Claude Elena. That's Rose et Cuir. And then lastly, out of the 10 that I wanted to feature is the newest release as of the recording of this video. This is from 2023 from Sisley, Paris, Rêvée d'Aubert. Rêvée d'Aubert. This is a garden geranium. This is like your grandmother's cottage garden geranium. And there's lots of other beautiful green facets to this. It continues in that tradition with Sisley releasing these fragrances that truly pay homage to the garden green, going all the way back to Eau de Campagne from the 70s, which was composed by Jean-Claude Elena, which really highlighted the tomato leaf and galbanum. But here, the geranium in this is supported by mastic, which kind of reminds me a little bit of another release from Sicily called Diptyque. It also has buchu leaf, which is fascinating. Buchu leaf is a very pungent, strong, essential oil producing plant with these almost acrid when it's smelled alone. It's kind of like blackcurrant, except even more potent. But the accent of the buchu leaf really brings out some great qualities in the geranium in it. This is a great one. One of my favorite releases from last year. It is L'Eau Rêvée from d'Aubert from Sisley. I want to do one honorable mention, although I would be more apt to feature this in a rose video, is La Fille de Berlin. La Fille de Berlin has a lot of geranium in it as well. Also a unique plant called Palmarosa. So there's a lot of these geranium and rose-like elements in it, but more on this on another time in a future rose video, which I do plan to have coming up. So that's La Fille de Berlin from Serge Lutens. And I would highly recommend for those who want to really dive in on geranium use in perfumery, the Ney and LMR Naturals notebooks are a fantastic resource in getting to know these natural materials a lot better as they're used in perfumery. And the one in particular here, geranium perfumery, is highly recommended. As a matter of fact, a couple of the fragrances that I had mentioned in this video, including Equipage geranium is in here, geranium Monsieur is featured in here, but also the book itself it gives you information, the key facts on rose geranium, the history, how it is procured, the terroir, where it is grown, much like some of the things that I had covered earlier in this video. So it's an excellent book, wonderfully illustrated, great photography in it as well. That is Geranium and Perfumery, Ney plus LMR, the Naturals Notebook. I can leave a link in the description of where you can purchase this Naturals Notebook. You found this video to be informative and enjoyable, and if so, don't hesitate to subscribe. Hit the like button, it helps with the algorithm, and also tap on the bell for notifications of further videos and live streams. And until next time, keep smelling marvelous.